It's on and running, huh?
Yep.
All right. So I guess we're going to teach my buddy Nate how to build a stove, huh?
There you go.
This is our oil burning stove, made out of 100% junk, basically. Right down here we have a 10-gallon reservoir of oil. We have a master switch that turns the power on. We've got a power switch that turns the pump and the fan on. And we have a power switch that turns the bottom fan on once it gets hot. We wait till it gets real good and hot before we turn the fan on. We just recently put this switch in here, which is that's in case the power was to go off. So if this thing was sitting here running and the power went off and then the power came back on again, you wouldn't want it to try to relight itself. And the same way with right here, we're going to put a temperature switch in here that's going to hang down on the inside of the stove, that's going to sense how hot the air is, as to if it gets too hot, it's going to trip out and it's going to shut the whole thing off. So the way we built the stove is that there's an oil pump and a blower. This is an old diesel-fired heater that come off of an old oil furnace. And if you're trying to pump waste oil through it, it doesn't have enough motor to propel itself. So if you disassemble this oil pump right here, you'll find out that there's two sections of a pump in there, a high side and a low side. So you disassemble the pump and you take half of that pump out and you throw it away. That lessens how much draw the motor has, so it lightens up the load. Also underneath of here was a transformer and a set of igniters and everything that went inside of here. So we got all of this out of here and throw it away. You don't need any of that. The next thing we did was we built a tube that goes out and goes all the way down into the bottom of the stove. And the first one was solid and it was really hard to clean, so we decided to make it a lot easier. So to clean the stove, so we take this thing and we just get it out of the way. We lift up on this, turn it, and it comes right out of the stove. So if you look at how this tube's made, you'll see that inside of here is where our oil comes down the funnel, comes down the inside of the stove. It follows the center of it all the way down to the very bottom where it gets blowed out. Okay? And what we have is we have a stem in here that's about 8 inches tall, that's 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and this 3/8 brake line tubing coming down inside of that, so that that oil cannot get out of that inside of that pipe, but at the same time when it's blowing air in here, it's trying to make like a paint gun effect, so that it tries to actually pick up a little bit of that air in that oil and blow it out of the bottom of this. Okay? So it's really pretty simple how that works. Down in the bottom of the stove, we got a stainless steel salad bowl. You got to have stainless steel because you can see how hot it gets. That's the trick to really making it work. You get this really, really, really hot, and when that oil gets down in there and it starts to boil, it doesn't take nothing to make it light. This originally, the first one that we built like this, we could run it about 6 to 7 hours and it was plugged up full of junk. This thing will get an inch deep full of a white hard crust down here. This one right now, we're running it, the other day we ran it about 14.5 hours and it never missed a beat. And it was still chugging along. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that bowl back down in there and I'm going to set my stem back down in there. Which the only thing you have to do when you take it apart and clean it is take the bowl out and clean it, take a wire brush, clean this all off real good, set it back down in there. Pretty simple to clean. And that's the main thing, because the first one was so hard to clean that now I got to get that centered up in there. That looks pretty centered up, doesn't it? You know what? We'll just leave it like that. I say that's plenty good. Now if you look right here, you'll see I also put in a little Allen plug, so that 3/8 line that comes down comes to here. That's actually a T. So you take that out with an Allen wrench, pull that up out of there, and then I built a little clean out tool, real simple little clean out tool that goes all the way down to the bottom of the bowl. S in case. I've never had to use it yet. So far that's never been plugged up. This lid fits perfectly flush with the top of this so that no air can escape around it and screw up your draft. So I guess what we'll do now is we'll light this thing and we'll show you how it lights. So we start out with jet fuel. You can use kerosene, it's about the same stuff. And what we'll do is we put in about 2.5 ounces, and it'll all go right down that tube, and it'll go right to the bottom of that bowl, and it'll be laying in the bottom of that bowl. Then what we're going to do is we're going to turn on 20 seconds.
Hang on a second. Okay, there you go.
We're going to run our pump for 20 seconds. And that's going to give it enough oil so that by the time that the kerosene or the jet fuel starts to burn, that it gives you enough time that your oil will make it down there and it's hot enough by then to ignite itself. I use a propane torch. I get it lit. I turn it upside down. And I hang on to the bottom of it with my fingers, and I go down and I light the bottom of that bowl on fire. It works really well. It doesn't take too much. Once you get it lit, then you can close that door and just kind of monitor your flame. And you want to continue to monitor it for a period of time to make sure that it's not too much or that it's enough to keep it running. I put little marks on here, and when we get it running, I'll show you my marks that I line up. That's my flow of oil. You can watch, and it stays pretty nice. So we'll turn our pump on. So this fan is running, and this oil pump is running. We're going to turn this on. That's my stream oil. We're going to count to about 20. What are you backing up for? I trust it, but I never want to walk away from it because it's not working. If you got 10-15 minutes to sit here and get the thing running real good, and then I'll stay close in the shop to work on something, and I kind of get used to monitoring how it sounds. And I always come over here and I take a little peek by sliding that door open and seeing whether it looks like it's too big a fire or not enough fire. And it really does well. This building's 4,000 square feet, 24 feet high, and it does a fine job of trying to keep it going. Once it gets enough heat that you'll feel the heat come out of here. You also feel that smokestack I got right there. You want to see that flame, Nate? Come over here and look at this flame. Just slide that little door open. You can look right down there. Oh yeah, it's got a good spin to it, don't it? Oh yeah. that's what you want if you want to try to burn that oil up. You don't want to have any soot come out. So yesterday or the day before I run it, and I get it running and I go outside and I look at that chimney pipe and you don't see anything come out of that chimney pipe except for heat fumes. And that's if it's real cold. You'll see the heat fumes come out of it, but you won't see any smoke whatsoever. If I run a wood burning stove and this stove, you'll see smoke off of the wood burning stove, but you won't see no smoke off this because it burns completely clean. Yeah, she's whistling Dixie now.
Pretty quick.
So the thing we got going on here is when the power goes out, this switch right here is holding this relay on. That's how you start it. Now it's running on automatic. Hang on a minute, what's going on here?
It's cold. You're pumping a lot of oil. Shut your oil off.
Why is that?
Look at your stream of oil. Shut your oil off. It's cold.
It ought to be taking it a little bit better than that.
It did that to me the other day.
Getting pretty warm pretty quick. So anyhow, if the power goes off, this relay will kick out. If it gets too hot, this relay will kick out, and then you have to manually come back and start it again by turning the switch back on, getting the pump run again, so that you can walk away a little bit. If the power was to turn off, you're not going to have to worry about it so much. At least that's what we want. We don't want to have to worry about it too much. So. That oil is pretty cold. It's probably, what do you think, 50 in here right now? Maybe?
Yeah, I'd say so.
We've been averaging about a half a gallon an hour is what it burns. Maybe just a fudge over a half a gallon an hour is what it's burning. But man, there's a lot of good heat for a half a gallon an hour. And a lot of people are paying to get rid of their waste oil. Why would you pay to get rid of your waste oil when you could do something like this and utilize getting some heat out, especially when it's cold, you're trying to heat this place. It's cruising along. That smoke pipe's getting pretty warm. We'll let it get a little bit warmer, and then we got a fan up there. We'll show you that we keep our smoke pipe cool. We put our waste oil out in a 500-gallon tank out here. So when we change oil in a truck or in a tractor or something like that, we go out here and we dump it. We don't dump it into here. We take it outside and we dump it into a 500-gallon tank and we let it settle. So if there's any heavy metals or if there's any water or if there's anything in that, especially, you get dirt falling off in your pan. So what we do is we take it out there, we put it in a big tote, and then when we want oil, we go out there and we pump oil out of that tote, not being on the bottom, up about this high. And then that's what we fill our jug with. So. Now this pipe's getting plenty hot enough. So if you look up here in the ceiling, we We got a blower that blows air off the ceiling around that exhaust pipe, comes down this ductwork, and it scavenges all the heat off of that pipe and blows it out down here around your stoves and across your floor. So the other day we had a heat gun down here, and right here on our smoke pipe was about 220 degrees, and up at the very top going out of the building was 79. So we've scavenged all of that heat off of that pipe by utilizing that blower up there. Now it's getting pretty warm to the touch, but I'm going to give it a little bit more. You want to make sure you get it really good and hot before you turn the fan on, which it's getting pretty good and hot. And then you'll feel how nice the heat this thing blows out. It'll blow it out for as long as you want to run. Really not a lot involved in it. It's a 55-gallon barrel. Inside of that 55-gallon barrel is a 100-pound propane pig that's been cut off. And on the bottom of it, we hollowed out little arches around the leg so that when the blower blows in on the very bottom of it, it blows it all the way around that propane cylinder until it just comes out of these two little vents that we've got here on the top. It really does work well. It really does work well. From what we started with to what we have now is 100% better. And if the next one's better than this, it'll be 200% better than it. Like I say, about every 12, 14 hours now, we'll have to take this thing and pull that stalk out of there, take the bowl out, clean the bowl, and get all that good heat. How hot is it right now? See what that pipe is right here.
150.
See what the top of the stove is.
140.
So it's warm enough now, I'm going to turn the fan on. Come stand on this side.
Yeah.
Look in at that flame and see what you think of that nice heat coming out of there. You can see it's burning pretty clean.
It's cooking now.
So now if we was to go outside and look up at the smokestack up there, we can see how clean it really is, because you won't see nothing come out of that. There won't be anything come out of that smokestack but heat. Nothing. There's no smoke. You gotta play with this air and get the air and the fuel just like an engine. You know, you want 14.5 to 1 when you got an engine running on gasoline. Well, these are the same way. When you're burning oil, you gotta get your air and your oil figured out where you get your best flame. And put your little mark on there and then try to make it better. Once you get it good, really good. Now she's cruising along real nice. So see, I got 3 red marks, one on the knob. I got 2 red marks on here, and them's the marks that I leave it set on. And you see here on my air adjustment, I've got red marks on my air adjustment. So I know that's where it needs to be. And right there, that thing will cruise for 14 hours and not miss a beat. Needs burning gas or burning propane or burning kerosene or burning diesel fuel or and it doesn't take half a gallon, a little over half a gallon an hour, and away you go. here in the back, there's one screw that holds the exhaust pipe on right here, and the stove slides away. And you pull that horseshoe out of there, and then this pivots all the way around on this piano hinge right here, and you can go inside of there and you can clean that whole food pipe out. We clean that food pipe about twice a year. And the reason being is with the wood burner stove, we're always cleaning the inside of the pre-combustion or the other combustion chamber that we have. So we're just trying to scavenge more heat off of our stove. So still, you get a lot of creosote and a lot of soot and this and that. So that clean out works really well right there, so you can clean all that shit out of it. So with that, I hope you all enjoy it. I hope you can make one of your own someday, but just remember, don't leave it. Make sure you keep an eye on it.